Excellent. Good morning, everyone. My name is Monica Corda, the Director of Member Relations here at the Tech Collective. For those of you who might not be familiar with the organization, we're the IT industry association for the state of Rhode Island. So we provide trainings like this, giving you information that's top of the hour, things you need to know as technology changes, as well as much more technical training like certified ethical hacker that we were talking about a little bit before the call, or customer service. There's agile training, data, cybersecurity. So lots of good things to be aware of at the Tech Collective. Towards the end of this, I will post one question. If you would just take a moment to answer it, it's just letting us know, did we hit the mark for this presentation? As well as I'll put in our event calendar as well into the chat so you can see what's coming our way. So this morning we have Abby Hansen and Joey
Adalman.
Yes. From Micro Ingram, presenting on remote work and some Microsoft tools that are really helpful. And this program is, we're in partnership with Vertical 6. So we have Jana here from that organization to share a little bit about what Vertical 6 does, and then we'll hand it back over to Abby and to Joey for all of the technical work.
Thanks, Monica. Hi, I'm Jana Krishnowski, Executive Partner at Vertical 6, and we're also a partner of Tech Collective. And for those of you who don't know or are not familiar with Vertical 6, we're one of the fastest growing managed IT service providers in New England. We're located in Warwick, Rhode Island, and also have an office in Framingham, Massachusetts. We provide managed IT services and cybersecurity solutions for organizations from all industries of all sizes that may or may not have a technical staff. And Vertical 6 has the only locally staffed 24/7 help desk and network operations center, which means you can contact us any day or night to speak with one of our support specialists. Our focus is to monitor the health and performance of your network on an ongoing basis to reduce downtime and maximize security. We also provide strategy sessions to make sure your technology aligns with your business goals. So feel free to reach out to me if you want to have any conversations about our services. My contact information will be shown at I believe the last slide. And I can also put it in the chat if you want to reach out to me. So hope you enjoyed the webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Abby Hansen with Ingram Micro. I actually sit in Fargo, North Dakota. And I just want to do some housekeeping items before we get started. So you are in Microsoft Teams, and it looks like somebody is at my door, but they're going to have to wait. And so here up in here, you have the ability to raise your hands, ask questions up here through the chat window, and go from there. So if you have any questions, feel free to do that. They just rang the doorbell again, so I have to step away. Joey, do you want to just pull up the presentation, and I'll be back in 2 seconds?
Yep. All right. So can everyone see the presentation right now? I'm putting in the share with it. Can you guys see it okay? Yes? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So I'll kind of give like a little overview of what Abby and I are going to go through while she's answering the door. Abby is our team's. Are you back now, Abby?
I am back.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Sorry. I have people working on my lawn, and I have a bobcat in the front yard, not a real one, but like a machine one.
The machine.
Yes.
I thought it was part of the presentation, just to show how remote work really happens.
It really is how it works, right? Oh my gosh, it's a little crazy, and no kids today. They're with the nanny, thank goodness. But so I'm going to go ahead and have a conversation around remote work. Right now, it's important to know that still 50% of the nation is working from home. And when we think about how much the world has changed since the pandemic started, a lot of brick and mortar buildings aren't reopening. They're saying work from home. There was even a conversation or a news article the other day that I read that said that a lot of employees are now telling their employers that if you don't let me work from home, I'm going to look for a new job. And so we're having a shortage on workforce right now in order to fulfill those. And so as an employer, we're having to think differently about what we're doing with our environments. And so, we know from a COVID perspective how much it impacted us. We had to get up, run quickly, move our infrastructure to the cloud. We had to move our telephony systems over in order to be able to work better and smarter. We have probably spent more hours on a video call than we have seen people face to face over the last year. And so Microsoft helps us to do this. 92 or 93 of the Fortune 100 companies are already on Microsoft. And that is how they never skipped a beat. All they had to do was actually take their computer and go home, and their revenue on most of them actually increased because they were well set for success. And so when we look at Microsoft Stack, it helps us to meet and collaborate from home. If you're on Microsoft Teams or on another solution, everything is saved in the cloud. So you don't have to worry about that blue screen of death, right? I know we've all had it. Make productivity and applications available on any device. I could have continued the webinar, switch to my phone and come back, switch to my computer, and you would have never even known. We want to engage people with virtual events and communications like we're doing now and deliver the best virtual desktop experience. And so Windows 10 empowers us. It gives us the security that we need. And Joey's going to dive into that in a little while. Plus, it's built on best-in-class security. You have secure remote access to applications, and you're able to have it secure in managed, unmanaged devices. And so if you let your employees have their own device, we can still make sure they're safe and secure because they're on your company assets. Okay. So we know working remote, we have a bunch of different types of workers that are doing this. Information workers who are behind a computer all day. They're in meetings, collaboration, workflow experience to those from working from home. You have those first-line workers who could have never left the field. So we're connecting workers to the rest of the organization with the digital touch for communication, collaboration, and shifts. And this first-line worker, if we think about healthcare and those nurses, and we think about people who are out in the field working on telephone lines or, networks, and they just really can't leave. A lot of them used to be just doing text messaging back and forth, but through the power and automation of Microsoft, you're now able to control and see and keep things encrypted and safe all through one single platform to help business run. And then healthcare, schools, and government. This was huge. We had to make sure that learning didn't stop, that remote work doesn't stop, and that we're able to help people in a timely manner. So one of the ways that we do this was through Microsoft Teams, or is through Microsoft Teams. And when we think about Microsoft Teams, it's not just a product. It's the platform and the way we do business. And I was talking to someone the other day, and they put it really clear for me. When you're in Microsoft Teams, it's not just teams and channels, it's your remote workplace. And if you have an HR department, the HR team is actually your HR department. So everything that happens within the platform is there to help you for success. And I had never seen it or thought about that methodology before, but it actually makes a lot of sense because you can pick up your mobile workplace, work in one solution, and have it anytime, any place. And so here, you have the telephony function. We can call in, we can call out. We have chat and collaboration. Everything's happening over here in one location. And we have apps and workflows. Apps are being built every single day to help. There's actually over 1,000 certified apps now since the last time we even had our conversation with our last training that helps us be more productive every day. We also have the ability to participate in interactive online meetings with video and chat like we're doing today. We have so many more capabilities to have 49 people on screen at one time, be in together mode. We're able to meet with, I think it's 300 internal, external participants. Now even you can meet up to 1,000 people in one meeting and do chat. And that's a huge advancement from where we were at the beginning of the pandemic. We also have the ability in our meetings, so I'm going to go ahead and move this over real quick because I just really think it's important to call some of this out. You can see my screen here. So here you have the large gallery preview, you have the together mode. If you've never seen the together mode, it's actually a lot of fun. So you can actually come in here, you can change your scenes, we can all be in a coffee shop together, and at a company, you're able to actually build your own together mode scenes now. So you can really be interactive if you're not going back into the office. You also have the ability to turn on these live captions. We want to make sure it's super inclusive for what we're trying to accomplish. This is a personal setting. So now you're able to see it, hear it, and read it at the same time. We also have the ability to come in here and we don't have to worry about our friends online being embarrassed by, maybe somebody's talking and the conversation gets heated. I can actually disable that person's mic now. Or let's say, they're in a place where their camera really shouldn't be on. If you've seen the Zoom debacles over the last year, I can actually save them some grace and turn off their camera. And so it's kind of nice from that perspective that the advancements within Microsoft is constantly evolving. Okay. And then of course you have your background effects, which you can see a lot of us have on already. And then you can start transcription. So this is brand new. This start transcription, we are actually able to transcribe everything within this meeting environment, and it's actually going to save it for you directly in the chat once the call is done. The other cool thing that I just saw right now at this moment, so I can totally geek out, is we have chat bubbles. So if Joey were to write hello in the chat window real quick, let's see if it works. Hello. A chat bubble will pop up so that we can actually see it during the call. So let's go ahead and see if it does it again. Do you want to try it one more time? And it must just have been disabled. I knew this was a new feature, but when he chats, it would actually show up on his face. And so that's a way for us to be more interactive. Other cool things within this meeting environment is that it's going to tell us when we have 5 minutes left. That helps us keep our agenda. So some really cool things that just keep coming out from that perspective. Okay. So and with Microsoft Teams now, we have the ability to do group chat, internal and external. And so if Jana, Monica, Joey, and I wanted to start a chat, we can do that now. It's native into Microsoft Teams. And so we're going to be able to work more collaboratively together, share documents, and that's a new advancement within May as well. And so you can see here we can co-author, share files, organize by teams and channels, and do group and one-on-one chat. We can also automate, putting in different tools into Microsoft Teams. And so if you have a company that your employees ask a lot of the same questions, you can actually put a bot there, and that bot can go to a person who's in charge, and it automatically starts that chat. You could even put a bot on your company website and direct it to Microsoft Teams. And so those questions are being answered within Teams. And so there's really a great way for us to automate workflow across the board. So here's some quick start guides. You guys are going to go ahead and get this. Of course, work with Vertical 6 on Microsoft Teams. They're here to help you from that standpoint, but there's just a ton that you're able to do. We also look at engaging people with virtual events and communications. I've been a part of some of the most profound engagements and conferences over the last 12 months where Microsoft Teams is the backbone. We're able to do surveys and forms and go into breakout rooms and really be able to communicate and for the advancement of, sharing in this remote world. We're able to put news and announcements in there and live on-demand events. And, how you set up your teams and your channels can really help you with your company messaging as well. Virtual events, we have live events. You can host your conferences online like we just talked about. Up to 100,000 people can view live broadcasts. You can invite people from all over the world. You can update people. And now, even within Microsoft Teams, when you schedule a webinar, you can actually schedule a webinar directly from Microsoft Teams, get the analytics, push it out, and even do confirmation emails directly from the platform. And so no longer do you need a third-party webinar tool. Microsoft Teams has you covered. Employee communications, you can see here, this is a leadership connection. So everything here it's built like a newsletter. You can put in headings and titles. You can use all the different tools to interact with one another. You can even include Microsoft's Outlook directly into your team setting. And here's some additional information on really how to push that out from that perspective. Okay. Some other things on how we stay productive in this remote world. You can include all your Office applications on your smartphone. Go out there, you can do a document, edit it, have spell check. So this allows you to actually work anytime, anywhere from that perspective. You can stay productive working from home, install those licenses. You're allowed with Microsoft licensing actually to have that license onto up to 5 machines, which is great. Plus, again, built on best-in-class security. You can collaborate in real time in the desktop apps, web or mobile. It helps you to stay focused on what matters the most, and that's the completion of your projects. Do more things integrated experience, so working together at the same time, and then you can work together with trust and confidence. And then the best part is when you actually go into your OneDrive or your SharePoint or even Microsoft Delve, which is awesome. Think of it as your internal LinkedIn site, but you have all of your documents in one location. You can go in and just pick up where you left off. Don't save it locally to your machine. Everything's in there. It's saved in the cloud. So you're not going to lose anything. And when you do that document collaboration, when you're actually doing mentions and putting comments there, people are going to know exactly where they left off and what needs to be included next. So Microsoft 365 helps you stay connected. Collaboration happens. You have all the tools within the platform to help you be successful. Joey, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you. Do you want to share your screen?
Yes. So I wanted to mention a little bit about the slide that you kind of ended on. Let me know if you guys can see my computer okay. Can you guys see what I'm presenting all right? Yep. Good. Yep. So this was actually really cool as Abby and I were kind of preparing for this presentation, and I was going through the content, because we're trying to keep the content as fresh and up to date as possible. I went into on the bottom left where the tutorial videos are, and they've actually got some cool features. One of the ones I liked was you can listen to your email now. So you can go in and ask Cortana to play your emails, and if you've got 3, 5, 8 emails, it'll actually play them over audio into a headset or some Bluetooth headphones. It'll tell you if you have urgent messages. It'll tell you if you've been double booked, if someone sent you a meeting, and hey, you've got 2 meetings at 2 o'clock today. So I thought that was kind of some cool stuff. Abby mentioned about having your mobile Office application on your phone. You just have the ability. I can go in and when we were traveling, you can see, the last documents that you were looking at. I could look at, the document, the presentation we're doing today, go in and make my edits. It's captured in real time. Abby can see it while I'm doing it. So there's some really cool things from, an Outlook perspective and then the mobile Office perspective. So what I'm going to talk about over the next couple slides is going to be a little bit more about the security architecture that kind of underlines everything within Microsoft. Microsoft is got a pretty powerful view into security across the globe and across a bunch of different applications, whether it be Outlook or Bing searches. One of the things I thought was really cool is, they use Xbox, right? There's 65 million users on Xbox. Every email that they analyze. So you have a really powerful view that no other vendor has into, so many different applications that people are using across, the entire world. So you can, if a Bing search pops up something malicious, or someone tries to attack an Xbox. I actually saw that EA Games was they were trying to ransomware EA Games now and give them back data. But if they see any malicious activity across any of the platforms that they use, it's shared across every platform. So really powerful, view into what's going on globally, from any type of cybersecurity challenges or risks. But as we go through this, we talk about some of the next steps for productivity, app adoption and guidance. Essentially, installing, Office 365, Windows 10 to give you that really that top-notch experience across the organization. We'll focus a little bit on mobile devices. There's some really cool technology around mobile endpoint management, mobile application and device management, on how you manage those, tablets and cell phones and laptops, and in this new world that we live in. And then, your ability is, Abby mentioned, to use things like Delve or Office.com to access, Word and Excel, all those powerful productivity applications. So next, we'll talk a little bit about, kind of delivering a virtual desktop experience. Prior to working for Ingram, I spent 2 years in Charlotte, North Carolina, working for in the partner community, and I worked for a partner that was part a system integrator, and then part they had their own private cloud, and we did a lot of virtual VDI, virtual desktop infrastructure. We leveraged things like Citrix, VMware Horizon, and then Microsoft's Windows Virtual Desktop. So with Microsoft and Windows Virtual Desktop, you have the ability to, as Abby mentioned, give information workers, give them all of the access to work from a hybrid environment, whether it's in the office, on the road, at home. You empower those frontline workers, needing to share that single zero trust device or move between multiple devices. I use the example of, when you're in the hospital and you see nurses and doctors, they have those kind of portable computers, and you see multiple people logging onto that device. That's what you're looking at with Windows Virtual Desktop, is the ability to log into a device and see your image, or what display, what you looked at on any other device. And then you have the ability with, things that have compliance issues, healthcare, legal, law enforcement, government. You can make sure that you're providing GDPR, any type of compliance, whether it's HIPAA, PCI, things of that nature. So you can make sure that you're providing a really strong experience that's protected, across the entire organization. So as we look at Windows Virtual Desktop, we want to be able to limit customer productivity disruption, right? So WVD leverages Azure M365 to deliver those productivity solutions for that remote work opportunity. Windows 10 and Office 365, as I mentioned, they keep you up to date, cloud connected, providing that top-notch experience across the organization. It allows you to be productive, secure, while lowering the total cost of ownership. And it's designed for all types of customers, all types of end users. You can deliver multi-session, Windows 10 experience. You're enabling optimizations for all of the M365 apps. You have the ability to, migrate Windows servers, deploy and scale in minutes. Gives you a very powerful platform to work on. And as we talk a little bit more about virtual desktop infrastructure and management, this slide it's a little technical. It talks a little bit about, what type of subscriptions you have the ability to leverage from both a full desktop and a remote desktop. Abby talked about some of those frontline worker options. If you're just using maybe devices, you're in manufacturing. I was recently working with a trucking company, and they've got 1,000 employees, but like 500 of them are truckers. So they've got a lot of people on the road, and they need to have the ability to communicate securely, but they don't need the full feature set of every productivity application. You have the ability to manage management and policies. You can image app and profile management. You can have different user densities, virtual machine sizing. It's really cool. You have that user management and identity management. But the underlying architecture is really on Azure Active Directory, leveraging identity and access management services. You provide that virtualization infrastructure infrastructure via Azure. You can deploy and manage your virtual machines within that Azure subscription. You can manage using existing tools like Config Manager. Intune is that endpoint management tool, and I'll show you a little bit more about that coming up in a few slides. You can simply connect to on-premise resources, so you have the ability to access that hybrid environment both on-prem and in the cloud. And you can connect from virtually any device. You can do a Microsoft Windows device, you can use a Mac device, you can use an Android. There's really no device that I've come across that you don't have the ability to leverage your virtual desktop experience. So pretty cool. Little kind of ending up the desktop virtualization. The idea is activating Windows 10 Enterprise E3 licenses, setting up your Azure account using WVD. You can also integrate it into Citrix or VMware, and we've got teams at Ingram Micro that can kind of help collaborate on what the best situation is to do that. We've got some technical content in here to talk about getting started with Windows Virtual Desktop, the things you need to do to migrate desktops and apps, deploy and manage your host protocols, the more technical components that you have. So this is where it gets a little bit more fun. We talk about, securing that remote access to applications. Remote work starts with the ability to access the applications you need to be productive, right? We want to enable remote access to the cloud and on premise, and not necessarily have to leverage a VPN, a virtual private network, to do that. We want to be able to simplify and discover apps for end users. We want to collaborate across different teams, geographies, projects, and we want to be able to do that with the same experience regardless of what device you're on. And then we want to put in security controls to protect access to corporate or company-owned applications and company-owned data. And we want to extend data protection to those devices. So I tell a story, my engineer that I had prior, he just recently moved on to a different role, but he was actually going on vacation. He wanted to move some data from his corporate his corporate laptop onto his iPad so that he could look at it on the plane, and he could work, when he was on vacation. And it actually blocked his ability to move that corporate-owned data from a company-owned device to a personal device. There's some really cool technology around blocking the ability to send things like credit card numbers via email, things with data loss prevention and conditional access, blocking the ability to do screen captures. So it makes it really, really hard to mishandle or misuse company or your corporate owned data. And they do that leveraging some of the things we're going to talk about here, with Intune and things like single sign-on, leveraging Microsoft's Azure Active Directory. It basically is authenticating that you are the person you say you are, you're in the geography that you're supposed to be in, and that you're asking for data that you're allowed to have. And you can do that across pre-integrated applications. You can do it across multiple clouds, whether it's AWS, IBM, Google, Azure. And then you can also leverage it with legacy applications that you might have in a corporate owned data center, which still there's a lot of people that are running some of their legacy applications in their own data centers. So as we enable remote work at scale using Azure VPN gateways, we want to support multiple platforms, multiple protocols, authentication mechanisms. You can support up to 10,000 users per gateway, so you've got just a massive amount of bandwidth to do that. You have native Azure Active Directory authentication. You're doing things like multi-factor authentication. I'm sure everyone on the call is using that in some capacity today, right? I know Abby and I get probably 2 or 3 or 4 different requests to confirm who we are through some form of multi-factor authentication. That could be getting a text message of a code. It could be getting a FIDO key. It could be using things like Microsoft Authenticator, but making sure that you're the person that is supposed to be accessing that data. Interesting fact on multi-factor authentication is over 99% of malicious intrusions can be avoided by leveraging MFA. So it's basically setting it up correctly and then enforcing it across the organization. Securing your network level access across all resources, accessing on-prem resources, when you need to do a VPN. So you have the ability to really leverage that entire hybrid environment. We talked a little bit about, kind of the single sign-on feature. That gives you the ability to go into the company or the corporate owned like application store. You can streamline user access. You can go in and you can check anything that's been a corporately approved application. You can filter different applications, and you have visibility to everything in your Office 365 portal. So as we collaborate across the organization, both internally and externally, you've got some pretty cool integration with Azure AD. You can actually integrate multiple Azure Active Directory organizations, so that you can make sure that they are secure connections, and that you could talk to different people across different organizations. You can add external users by leveraging Microsoft accounts, social IDs, basically providing identity provider accounts to make sure that that's a person that you want to have collaborating with your organization. And then you can add external users with non-traditional IDs, including phone, email, one-time passcode. So on a call like we have today, Abby and I could say, just for today's meeting, we want to give people the ability to log in and share in the presentation that we're working on. Once it's done, we would then move on, and you'd be blocked from logging in. So protecting access for all users from anywhere, applying consistent risk-based policies with conditional access. Essentially what you're doing here with conditional access is, as the person signs in and Azure Active Directory is identifying that is someone who should have access to this data. You're looking at the user location. You're looking at the device that they're on. Is it a device that was approved by the corporate, whether it be your personal cell phone or a corporate-owned laptop? You're looking at what type of application are they trying to access, and then what's the real-time risk. The access is basically Azure Active Directory is looking at, do we want to allow access? Do we want to require multi-factor authentication? Do we want to limit access, or do we want to block it? And they're taking into account what I mentioned earlier with your location, the type of device, the type of application, and what's happening in real time. And then it securely lets that end user or that employee access the data, the applications or data that they want to. So this is where some of the things get really, really cool with the security features from Microsoft. As we extend data protection to our mobile devices, Microsoft has 3 different features. They've got mobile endpoint management, which I'll talk about in just a second. But here we have mobile device management, which is your corporate-owned devices, like a corporate-owned laptop or a corporate-owned phone. And then you have your mobile application management. So Abby and I both use our personal cell phones, but we have corporate-owned applications or company-managed applications on our personal devices. With MDM and MAM, regardless of whether it's a company-owned device or it's a personal bring your own device scenario, you have the ability to manage in MDM world the entire device, everything that's on it. If an employee loses, a laptop or a cell phone, you can wipe that device, you can lock that device down, you control everything on that device, all of the data and all of the applications. But in the world we live in today, so many people are bringing their own device. You have the ability with mobile application management, both leveraging conditional access. You can go in and not interrupt the end user or the customer's Bank of America application or Instagram account. You basically have the ability, leveraging mobile application management Intune, to go in and manage the corporate-owned applications, things like Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel, anything that you would access corporate-owned or company-owned data or any type of application that is provided by the corporation. You have the ability to manage just that data and those applications, so that, again, in a scenario where you lose that device or the person's left the organization, you can delete, wipe, lock down, block, access, whatever you want to do. You can control that data so that on their personal device, they can no longer log into their Outlook account. You can wipe that application right off of the device, but it doesn't interfere with any of the personal applications or personal data that you've got on that device, tablet, cell phone, laptop, whatever it might be. So giving you like a very broad capability to manage data no matter where it is and what device it's on. So we talk about secure remote access adoption and guidance, cloud apps for access, the ability to leverage things like single sign-on, the ability to still access that hybrid environment, both the on-prem and the cloud, protecting access to apps with conditional access, as I was talking about with that MDM and MAM, making sure that you have the right people accessing data that they're allowed to access, the ability to collaborate with your partners, extending Azure Active Directory across organizations, and then on-premise identity management when you connect into your own on-premise infrastructure or to the cloud. So Azure Active Directory Premium P1. That's one of the really cool features. It's an enterprise level version of Active Directory that they've brought to market, and that's something that you can talk to Vertical 6 or the team at Tech Collective, and then we've got some other little links where you can look at remote deployment and self-service guides. So securing managed and unmanaged devices. We talked a little bit about this, so I'll jump forward because we've touched on that one a couple times. Building a foundation for remote work. I mentioned this earlier, the Microsoft Endpoint Manager. This is a really cool tool that allows you to do things like deploy applications and ensure, ensure secure access across the organization. I've mentioned conditional access a couple times. Data loss prevention is another one where you're making sure that data isn't going somewhere that it shouldn't go. Simplifying and securing endpoints. Extends config manager capabilities so that you can better enable internet-based management. When Abby was talking about Delve or Office.com, kind of logging into like the internal version of your LinkedIn and things of that nature. The ability to enable automated user direct provisioning, whether you're using a Windows device, an iOS device, an Android device, a Mac device, and regardless of what type of endpoint it is, but also providing flexibility, as I mentioned, with mobile application management for that bring your own device scenario. So regardless, I think Abby touched on it in the very beginning, the workforce has shifted, and it's the companies are having to do a lot more to satisfy the employees and provide them a better experience, whether it's allowing them to work remote a couple days a week, whether it's allowing them to use their personal devices. The corporations or companies are having to do a lot more to attract good talent. I know Abby has a great story that she talked about, and I don't know if you want to jump into it quickly, Abby, but you talked about one of the jobs that you had a couple years ago where they made you like go and read
Yeah, I was the digital transformation leader for a company, and I was supposed to go in and help them transform their learning platform. And they made me sit at my desk for 6 months reading paper newsletters. And so, needless to say, I didn't last very long at that job because I was younger. I'll say I'm still young, but I was younger, creative, ready to go, right? And so really ready to take that organization to the next level. And so it's important that we're invoking creativity. We're able to be there to help our employees be successful. Otherwise, we're going to lose good talent. And Microsoft helps us do that across the board.
Yeah, and Microsoft Endpoint Manager supports that remote work by meeting the customer where they are to deliver that single unified view across the organization, applications, endpoints. Giving you the ability to really make sure that your employees are having the best experience possible. Some of the key capabilities, it's secure and intelligent. It's got native integration with the cloud. It's streamlined and flexible, as we've talked about. Whether it's a corporate-owned device or a BYOD. And then it maximizes kind of value, accelerating your ability to roll devices out. There's some really cool technology around a function around one of the applications called Autopilot from Microsoft, which gives you the ability to actually drop ship devices directly to the end user. You don't have to go through and kind of in the old days when I was working in Charlotte at that system integrator and cloud provider, we would actually go in and we'd have to create a golden image, and then we'd have to create multiple images depending if it was an administrator or a C-level or a salesperson or IT. And with Autopilot, you have the ability to send that device out. When the person logs in, their appropriate image populates. So it saves a lot of time with the IT team, but it also gives the end user a really good experience. You've got intelligent security, risk-based controls, unified management, zero touch with Autopilot. Autopilot, the ability to look at analytics, what are people doing? How do we make sure people are as productive as possible? And then you have that deep integration with Microsoft 365. So protecting data while ensuring that users can access the content they need. We've talked a little bit about that. Safeguarding against intellectual property with data loss prevention, leveraging things like modern encryption methods, making sure that you're minimizing threats and achieve adaptive conditional access to data based on the risk, real-time analytics. As I talked about, looking at the whole breadth of Microsoft's portfolio, making sure that you're setting up policies to protect Office 365, and you're prioritizing those vulnerabilities. And you've got the ability with, you're going to get intelligent recommendations of kind of what's happening through your analytics portal, that you can see, where people might be accessing old login credentials, and they've been trying to, they've done that 1,000 times. So that's something you need to go out and address. You can kind of see across the organization, who are people that are doing their due diligence when they're looking at things like phishing and ransomware, and maybe who are some people that need a little bit of additional training. So you have the ability to get recommendations. It's powered by AI and cloud analytics, and you can see that risk monitoring, and then you can kind of change the settings to adapt to your organization. So as we talk about managing endpoints and protecting that data, managing your PCs, Macs, mobile devices, we talked about doing that with mobile application management and mobile device management using Endpoint Manager. So you've got the ability to, leverage config manager, leverage Intune, set up the policies that are appropriate for the organization, and what groups are allowed to do what with what data. So as we talk about the automated deployment for devices, that's where I was talking about Autopilot, where you have that zero-touch deployment. You can drop ship management-ready devices. It's reducing cost where you don't have IT going in and setting up the image, sending it to IT, then IT sending it out to the end user. You're bypassing those traditional image-based deployments. It's giving you that new device experience for all of the end users in the organization, and you have the ability to automate applications and configurations and updates and settings, so you can make sure that that device is running on the most current version of Windows, because that's one of the main things that you can run into challenges is when you're running older versions of an application and you don't have that security that's the most current version and up to date. So a little bit about adoption and guidance. You've got you've got management tools. You can go directly to the cloud with Microsoft Intune. If you have existing Intune only management, you can move additional endpoints and workloads. You can roll configuration manager devices into Intune. You can connect your configuration manager site to Intune. So you've got a ton of different integration. Customers using SCCM. You can have co-management leveraging Microsoft Endpoint Manager and Intune, especially using Windows 10 as your install base. So I think, Abby, were you going to jump on enable remote work today, or do you want me to move forward?
Yeah, I'm actually setting up a demo tenant real quick just to show them
Okay.
how everything works together.
Awesome.
So, yep. So let me go ahead and just do that.
So that would be me on the right, and that would be Abby on the left.
You on the couch? Yep, pretty
Yeah.
much. Just kidding. So it's important for us to know and kind of understand how everything works together. You have the ability to have things on your desktop, but being able to remote work means that you can log on any computer, on any device, anywhere in the world to be able to work. And so when we're in this demo tenant here, you can actually see all of the documents that are being worked on, when you edited it, how it happened, what time it was. It's even timestamps in some cases. And then you're able to open it in a desktop app, open it in the browser, share, copy link, download, etc. And so you can go into my recent ones that you've done, even to shared ones, and who it was sent to. So you're able to see that workflow across the platform from that perspective. And then you're even able to dive in from a favorites section here. When I actually go into my own office workplace here, you're able to see that my recommended ones, who edited things, how things were shared together. And so we're able to really dive into a bunch of different things together from that perspective. It's cool to see too, like we can open a Word document here. We can see all of the pricing that we've worked on together, or the pricing guidelines are here. We can create a new document here, even into Excel, PowerPoint. So it's really your one-stop shopping when everything is in that one single location from that perspective. We also have the ability to dive into Delve. And so has anybody worked with Delve before? So Delve is awesome. And from this perspective, you can see everything in Delve. It's like my own personal branding page. I can see people that I collaborate with all of the time. You can see my schedule. Like I have one little meeting open today. I can add in my bio, my OneDrive is here, things that I'm working on, and the people that I interact with the most are on the left-hand side. And so when you have a Delve page, you're really able to update this for your own personal style from that perspective. Okay. Any questions? I know we've gone through a lot of information today.
I'll throw one out there. I'm like overwhelmed and can't wait to just, play with Delve a little bit. That looks cool. But I know like I've gotten the notifications that say like you've been, your updates are all set for Teams. Where do we find out like what do the updates do for us? Like, is there a landing page where we can look at like what's been updated, or what are things that are coming soon to Teams?
So when you actually come down into this little bottom left-hand corner under the help section, you're going to have a ton of training here, but you're also going to see what's new. And so here is all of the what's new items that have been released.
Okay.
And there's some pretty cool things. I think in April alone, they released over 100 items, and in May, they just keep popping out from that perspective. Yeah.
Thank you kindly.
Here's John. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's a lot to absorb. Like I think a lot of changes have come about without me even realizing, and I imagine there are other people on the call that may feel the same way about it. So this was a wonderful and extremely informative session.
Yeah. You're welcome. It's important to know, and even the U.S. government said it today, the other day, I heard it on the news, is that if you don't have a secure remote work environment, you are behind, because hackers are like out there more than ever. And you can see it across the board. Like, it was crazy. My dad doesn't know how to use his Facebook account. And for some reason, he accepted one friend request. That friend request multiplied to 800 people he didn't know. And so if a common person can be hacked that way, I had to clean up his Facebook, by the way. It took me an hour. It was the worst painful thing in the history of man. But think about businesses, right? Like, think about the lost ROI. Think about losing a device and all of that sensitive data that's on there. And so you want to make sure that you have remote wipe, mobile device management, and that you're safe and secure, especially in the environment that we work on today. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead, Jonna, and let you button it up.
Okay, no, thank you for attending, and my contact information I put in chat. Also, it's this last page. So if you have any questions around anything that was covered or even managed services, feel free to reach out to me, even if it's something you're not sure that would be a fit for your company. I don't mind having a conversation with you just to help scope it out and make recommendations. And like I said, I know there's going to be a recording that we will get over to Monica, and you'll be able to access that and hopefully send it out to whoever would like it, and maybe some of the people who were not able to join us today. So yes. I see, Monica, you also have your survey in the chat as well.
Yep, put the survey in the chat as well as our upcoming events page. So there's a few things. This week, if you're interested in the application of data analytics where the data source is not available, it's a case study kind of looking at Power BI and data analytics. That's on the 17th. So lots of good things coming up. There's an Excel training on the 23rd. If anyone needs some like pivot table, high level information, really, kind of those of you who are really in it, not for the faint of heart in Excel. So we thank you to Abby and to Joey for their time, for their expertise and knowledge, and for Vertical 6 with Jana for bringing us this partnership and this information. So I wish you all a wonderful day. Thank you kindly, and I'll send out the recording probably by next week. Abby, does that sound about right?
Yeah, we'll I'll have it to you by the end of the day, but we'll go from there.
Oh,
so I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording now.
All right.